Today's episode of the Eskimo Empire podcast is brought to you by TELUS World of Science Edmonton, home of the Canadian debut of Marvel Universe of Superheroes. Edmonton is the first and only Canadian stop so far, and we are into the final days as it all ends on February the 17th. Celebrate the 80th anniversary of Marvel by seeing rare hand-drawn images of Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Captain America. Experience soundscapes created by composer Hans Zimmer. Digitally transform into Iron Man and so many more with over 300 artifacts, costumes, and interactive elements. Get there before it is gone. You can buy your tickets today at TELUSWorldOfScienceEdmonton.ca. That's TELUSWorldOfScienceEdmonton.ca. Enjoy the show.
Hey, fellas, we ain't gonna ever back down from nobody. I don't care who it is. This is a brotherhood. And if we stand strong together, we can't be denied. If one of us go down, we have another, and another, and another that's ready to fight. So let's hit this field and bang them, bang them, bang them. Somebody, light me up.
Welcome to the Empire. It's the Eskimo Empire podcast.
This is Trevor Harris.
Hey, how you doing? This is number 58, Travis Bond.
This is Christoph Malumba Chimanga.
Hey there, this is your co-host, Kenny Stafford.
Hey, this is Ryan King.
Calvin McCarty.
And you are listening to...
You're listening to the Eskimos Empire.
You're listening to the Eskimo Empire podcast.
The Eskimo Empire podcast. Hope you guys enjoy listening.
Welcome back to the Turf District for the Eskimo Empire podcast, and we are a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. I'm Andrew, and joined as always by my good friend, superfan Mike.
Hey there.
How are you?
Not bad. It's it's getting close to free agency.
Ooh, it's like, what did you call this?
Pre-agency.
Pre-agency. Yeah. that's what it is.
Yeah,
that's the news. That's what the new 10-day period beforehand, right? Is pre-agency.
That's what we're doing now.
Awesome.
Started today.
I think that's probably a hashtag title of the podcast.
Nice.
Right off the top.
Right there.
Love it. Yeah, exactly. We should start by thanking everybody that came to West of Us.
Yeah, well, it was a great time.
Yeah, great turnout. Awesome way to send off our little sister and to all of her adventures.
Yeah,
but
leaves
just
tomorrow.
Amazing to hang out with everybody and get some chatting in and talk some football. And I mean, no better way to spend a late January Saturday evening. So
yeah, and thanks again to First Round as well, and especially to Kaylee, our server.
Oh, she is amazing. Yeah, I cannot say enough. Like, this is our third or fourth time having her to basically cover the show or the West of Us party, and everyone just loves her.
Yeah,
awesome.
She's super at what she does. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't always give away free plugs, but for First Round right now, they're getting a free plug, and you can thank Kaylee for that. Yeah. That's right. Mike, before we get into it, because it was January and it was like 8,000 days long.
Yes.
I found I had a lot more time to dig into some new music.
Oh.
And so I was finding, I have, my cousin is very much into a bunch of different types of stuff, so he just sends me things. And I found this song, it's called Colors. It's by the Black Pumas.
Right.
And I just got to tell people, if you like a soul type of music, oh my goodness, that song, that's like a mental patient song. I could play it over and over and over and never get sick of it.
Awesome.
It's so good. Highly recommended. Did you have any others that you found?
Oh, tons of stuff.
Yeah?
It's mostly instrumental.
Oh,
kinda,
that sounds right up my alley.
Exactly.
Not? Yeah. You can send me some links.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. Should we bring in our guest?
I think we should.
I think we should, because we always love having him here. It is the one and only Jed Roberts. How you doing, man?
It's good to be here. I just can't get over how pre-agency just sounds so naughty.
We almost have to fire truck that
it's
out.
like you're building up and then nothing happens.
There's a story in there somewhere.
There is. I'm going to just leave that one alone. How you been, though?
Oh, good. doing what I do, enjoying life and just taking every day as it comes.
That's awesome.
So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, now, of course, we can't really go too far without talking about a different type of football game that happened yesterday, the Super Bowl. What'd you think?
I thought it was amazing. I didn't see the Chiefs defensively doing what they did yesterday.
Right.
But I also didn't see the Niners doing offensively what they didn't do. So it was the Chiefs did a good job of putting the ball, making Garoppolo
Have to throw.
basically daring him to beat them.
Right.
Yeah.
And he couldn't do it. So he had an open Emmanuel Sanders there at the end, and he just couldn't. That's what they brought him here for.
Right.
And maybe the Patriots knew something they don't. So,
Well, the one thing I will say is that I watched the first half, and then I had to go out. I had something I had to do, and then came back, and there was 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
So I come back and it's 20-10 and
Niners.
Brazilian Tide
And it was
texts
over.
me
Yeah.
and he says, he goes, "Are you watching the game?" I'm like, "No, I'm just getting back home, but I'll turn it on." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I can see the Chiefs decided that the second half wasn't worth playing." And then, of course, right from there, it took off. So then I'm texting him back. I'm like, "Well, they just were waiting for me to come home and watch."
Yeah, they
Because
were.
That was fair.
I was exciting. I wanted them to win. I really enjoy watching Patrick Mahomes play.
Oh, for sure.
And like they kept saying on the show, on the broadcast, he's like the a live cheat code.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
the
crazy
walking
to
cheat code.
watch it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Although I really do think Williams should have got the MVP.
I do too.
Holy
Yeah, I do too.
man.
He took over. He put them on his shoulders.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
He really, I didn't think their running game was that as good as he showed
Right.
last night. That's
Yeah.
for sure. And he did what I think the 49ers wish they could have done.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was exciting to watch, though.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you don't get to see a 21-point comeback or a 21-point explosion in 7 minutes usually in the NFL.
No, not in that league.
Yeah, no, not usually. So we'll take it. Now, a couple of stories that we need to get from you there, Jed. Let's start. You had talked about this. It was kind of an eerie one, but you said a post had come up about Mark Naposki. Am I saying that right?
Mark Naposki.
Naposki.
And
Yep. Thanks. Mike. Jeez, yeah. I know how to say Mark.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's the last name.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Appreciate that, Mark.
It's Eric Naposki, actually, I think. Eric Naposki.
Oh, okay.
It's
Is
Eric
that what it was?
Naposki, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, then I've got my names completely mixed up. So, Naposki.
Yeah.
But you had said that there was actually a story out on, and you had gone against him.
It came up after people were talking about Hernandez, and it was the big thing about Aaron Hernandez and how he'd during the course of his career had committed these crimes, and people were just like, nobody could believe it. I mean, even the homicide detectives who were looking at him on camera never put two and two together because I mean, who would do that, right? So, so in training camp in 1998, we had the great Kay Stevenson come up, and that season alone has spawned so many stories that if I live to be 110, I'll never tell them all. But,
Nice.
Anyway, they had an interesting approach to they just brought like a whole bunch of people just from everywhere, and one of them was this gentleman by the name of Eric Naposki. He was a special teamer, and I'd heard when he came in that he'd had a cup of coffee with the Steelers, and I think he went into the World League of American Football, did pretty well there. So they thought he was worth coming in. I don't know that he was all that good, but I do remember him being pretty fast.
Okay.
So we were running in practice one day, and we got to going, and I think we might have even fought a little bit. But then we sat down and had lunch and laughed about it afterwards. And then we started talking, and I got to know him a little bit. And it's funny because we were talking, and it was like, "Yeah, so you married?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm married." My wife at that time, her name is Nanette. Yeah. And he goes, his eyes lit up. He goes, "Your wife's name is Nanette?" He goes, "What? What are the chances? That's my wife's name too." Now, keep in mind, this is in 1998.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so fast forward, however many years, to what year is it now, 2020?
Yeah.
Well, the middle part of this decade, it came out that he had killed his girlfriend's husband years before that. And they weren't even married then, and he told me that was his wife.
Oh, wow.
In that conversation, and I don't know why, but I have a mind like a steel trap when it comes to these sort of things, people, places, things and stuff, and when it comes to like the playing time, and that really made my blood turn cold, because and then I went and I looked it up online, and there's a big story about it on Sports Illustrated. Eric Naposki. If you go and you look him up, Eric Naposki, there's a really big story. It's quite comprehensive. It's about it's quite a sizable article.
Wow.
The whole thing made its way through the courts, and he's serving life in prison. So for the murder of his wife's ex-husband, or deceased husband, or whatever. And it's crazy, like the way he went about it. It was very calculated. He just killed him in cold blood. It was and his kid, the guy's kid, was in the house when he did that.
Wow.
Really? This guy was very calculated. So and they were talking about his personality, and I keep in mind I only spent like maybe 10 days with the guy, but I did see some of those things when we were talking, and he had a bit of a grandiosity to him that you could see it pretty quickly that he was a pretty big fan of himself. So
wow,
pretty crazy.
Yeah,
you come across a lot of personalities. He was one that always stuck out to me, and then oddly enough,
you find this,
wow, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Kidding.
That's one of the things I always loved about playing football is you get a lot of mixed personalities in the room, and you don't always technically get along with each other, but you got to make it work, right?
Right. So, exactly. Okay, let's go to a more fun story.
Yeah.
Trevor Bowles and trading cards.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll lead it with that.
Okay, well, I was talking to Superfan Mike here about the fact that for years and years I was the team's representative for the Jogo playing card contract. So when the playing cards would come out, I would be the guy that would take down the biographical information. So it was more of a labor of love, right? Because I knew Scott Grant and John Sokolowski, who did the pictures and stuff, and my dad knew Scott's dad. Scott's dad shot for the Ottawa Rough Riders, and then Scott took over when his dad stepped down.
Right.
And so, because I had that connection, my dad, kind of said, you should take that on, because, those guys are, if it wasn't for those guys, there would be no real record of any of this happening. Right. So
absolutely.
It was something that I really believed in, but, I had a little bit of fun with it. Which we talked a little bit about. We won't talk about that right now. Blake Dermott, before I took over, I think he had some. He was in that role where he would take the person's information, and then when the cards would come in, he would distribute the boxes of the cards. Right. So each player got 500.
Yep.
You paid like $40 or something, and you get 500 cards, right? So it's awesome, right? I mean, every guy. What guy doesn't grow up, or what person doesn't grow up dreaming about having a player card, right? Like and dreaming about signing it and all that stuff. So this was a big moment, right?
We made podcaster cards just so that we could have them. I get it. Yeah.
So the day that these cards would come in. But the thing is you never really knew quite what was going to end up on the card, because it was really arbitrary. Like sometimes you would have a little bit of say, a little bit of input into the creativity in terms of like how they put these cards together. Okay, like you could certainly put something of as far as like what you wanted on the back, like the biographical information, but you never really knew what you were going to get picture-wise, right?
Right.
So, and sometimes the pictures could be actually quite funny. I always joked that the picture from my first playing card from 1991 is me falling down, and it actually is. It's me falling down against Scott Schultz. And so when people say, "Hey, you look like," and I'm falling down.
I'm falling down.
That's me falling down. So there was a picture similar to that with Trevor Bowles, who was our all-star left tackle, right tackle, number 66, and he was a big man, a beast, just a real leader and a guy that we all kind of looked up to. But when the cards came out, it was a picture of him falling down, and he was really angry about that. He was like, "This is," picked up the box of cards and he threw it down in the trash. And so Blake Dermott, who had done these cards, he walked over to the trash and he looked around and he picked up this box of cards and he kept it. And so what we would do is every time we were in the airport, anytime we were in the hotels, anytime we were out and about, he would hand these cards out to kids. And he would say, "Do me a favor, go up to that guy right there and ask him for his autograph." And so he would take these, "Hey, mister, can I?" And he would go, "Where did you get these cards? Who gave you these?" And we would just be laughing ourselves silly behind the, hiding in the bushes, The best one that we ever had was Blake got the key to Trevor's hotel room, and he went in and put one in the toilet. And then he put one inside his bed, put one under his pillow, taped one to the mirror, and all these cards were everywhere. And Trevor would just get so angry and he would turn so red. But it was so funny.
How is Blake still around?
He would go and he would go to the stewardesses and say, "Can you here's a or to the pilot, hey sir, can you please do me a favor and sign this?" He's like, "No, I'm not signing that card. Get away from me."
That's awesome.
That's outstanding.
That was beautiful. It was one of the best hits I've ever seen. And we just kept. We got so much mileage out of it. I think even now, Blake probably still has some copies laying around for when we get together. He's going, "Hey, can you give me the?" I can't repeat what he would say, but
we get the idea.
He's going to keep repeating that.
Yeah.
I know what I'm asking Blake when I see him next time. Hey, you got one of those Trevor Bowles cards? I need to have one for my collection.
The toilet one was the coup de grace. Like it was unbelievable. It was the best.
Oh my, this is outstanding.
I'm going to open up and go through my Trevor Bowles cards.
Yeah, I bet you are. Yeah, exactly. Well, let's get to some news. Let's talk about some news with the Eskimos. There isn't much.
No, hardly any at all.
The first thing, I'm just going to kind of do this in chronological order because otherwise we'll miss something.
Yeah.
They round out the coaching staff, adding Terry Eisler as the running backs coach.
Yeah, welcome back.
That's his third stint with us,
Correct.
From what I could tell. He's been running backs coach, defensive special teams assistant, special teams coordinator, and now he's running the running backs again.
Yeah.
And he had a long run at the U of A as well. Right. So did you know?
Yeah, I coached with Ice. He's a good man.
Yeah.
Very, very well prepared, very thorough, he's a player's coach.
Excuse me.
Okay. Just works really hard. He just outworks people. He's
awesome.
a good guy. He's a good guy to have in the room too.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. And then Kelly Jeffrey coming in as quarterback coach. Now he's back with Milanovic. He was with him in Toronto.
Right.
And then has lots again of U Sports with Mount Allison. So kind of nice to have that balance of that Canadian knowledge, but he obviously knows the coach. So.
Yeah, originally it was supposed to be Milanovic being the quarterback's coach, so that's one less thing he has to worry about and can focus more on the rest of the roles he has.
Yeah, he has a few of them.
He does have a few.
Yeah, something about having a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Now, Jed, we already asked you about the coaching staff on the YouTube Live, so this is my plug. If everybody wants to know what you said, they can go to the YouTube Live and check it out.
There we are.
See, wasn't that great?
Well done.
Actually, I did that wrong. What I should have said is, "Hey, Mike, do you want to know what Jed thinks about the coaches?"
Yes.
Well, if I were you, I would go back onto YouTube Live and watch it right there.
There we are.
I'll do that next time. All right. There's a couple of player moves. We'll start with the Eskimos making a trade with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for the return of Jordan Robinson at the running back / returner position, and just had to give up an eggless player for that. So that, to me, I think that's a great move.
Yeah.
Yeah. We liked Jordan, especially in preseason. He seemed to really have something.
And absolutely.
It just hadn't really translated as well into the regular season, but he definitely has some skills. He can return as well as be a halfback. So, if we can work a way that we can get him and Shaq Cooper on, rotating in, I think that could be a great thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, because he did show at that running back position, that speed on the outside, right? So I'll take that every day.
Yep.
Yeah. And plus, it's a guy that at least knows AJ. So if he's going to be doing some returning, or if something happens to Christian Jones, then we've got a guy that's there and ready to step up, right? So now we did sign some guys I have not heard of before. International linebacker Malik Clements, international defensive back Zach Edwards. Now we had talked about Zach Edwards as a possibility, but didn't know which position he was playing. International wide receiver Josh Stangby comes back.
Yeah.
Now he was here and then got hurt, and then never actually hit the field. But one thing I remember out of camp was that he is a fiery dude.
Yes,
because I believe it was him and I can't remember who. But
there were some words.
There was a couple of a couple of swings.
Yeah,
you know what that's.
That was my son's favorite player because Josh worked the Eskimos camp when they had the minor football. So, and he was really very, very kind to my son. So he was really disappointed when he got released. So it's kind of nice to see him coming back.
So there you go.
My wife will be happy. Yeah. She thought he was pretty cute. So.
I was going to say, I think it's a different reason. But, that's
or maybe
fine.
not.
Yeah, maybe
we don't judge.
Yeah, we don't. Exactly.
Just saying.
They also released national defensive lineman Andrew Marshall. And that's because they decided to sign a whole whack of defensive linemen that we'll get to in a minute. They extend international returner Christian Jones. I think this is the one that we were talking about before. Nice to have that consistency.
Yeah.
And I know AJ was saying when I spoke with him, they were just on the cusp of getting really good with him, and then he got injured. And now they know how to scheme blocking for him, and he knows what the blocking is going to do. So
he almost brought one back. He just ran out of gas this last year.
Yeah. So I like the signing. I like that one.
Yeah, I do too.
They signed 3 of them from the 2019 draft. Defensive back Eric Blake, wide receiver Hunter Carl. Now, that's one that I would keep an eye on. A lot of people are saying that is a guy that can be a bit of a game changer as a Canadian receiver. And defensive lineman Evan Machabroda. That one?
Saskatchewan?
Yes.
Watch him. Watch him. He's first-round talent.
Really?
Yeah. Very, very good. He's shake and bake. He's a big guy, but he can play. Like he might surprise you.
All 3 of them went back to school last year.
Yeah, he did, and that was one thing that kind of went against him because teams were kind of shied off, and he didn't do anything in the like when they did the combine. He kind of half there. Yeah, so he's good though. Like I've watched him. I've talked to people. He's good.
Okay,
so he could be that sleeper guy that comes out. And it'll be fun to watch him playing in the inside there at the next level. See if he can
inside guy?
Bring it. He's a good guy, yeah. Good football player. He caught my eye. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're
going to trust your eye a lot more than ours.
I was going to say, you've been pretty good at picking out guys. I remember when you first said, hey, watch this kid Hubbard. He's going to be all right.
Yeah. You know what, though? When I guest coached, can't remember what year it was, but it was Sewell's first year.
Wow.
And I remember talking to Ed, and they brought him in. And all he did was Armando would just go straight and just pick the guy up, basically, and launch him, right? And they were like, well, he doesn't move well side to side. So he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what do you want him to do? Like, do you want him to do the cha-cha, or do you want him to play football, right? Yeah. So he actually, so I said, that guy needs to play. Like, I watched him in one-on-ones. I said, that guy's a star. Like, like there's just no ifs, ands, or buts. So, and he has that thing. Yeah. The other guy that I thought had that was Charles that went down south. And they brought him back.
Stefan Charles,
So they have some options right now inside. They're going to be very difficult to deal with. So
it's going to be
that line's going to be scary.
Oh, that training camp is going to be like watching the battles on that defensive line is going to be ridiculous. I'm very excited for that. They signed receiver international receiver Kenny Shaw. Of course, he had his best season with Toronto under Milanovic.
Right,
so that's and I could see him kind of falling into that like DeVaris Daniels position where it's that kind of that other international guy, but got some speed, and if he can get his hands were not the greatest in Saskatchewan, but if he can start grabbing some stuff,
who knows,
could be a nice pickup. Now, one of my favorite moves, they extend center David Beard for 3 years.
Yes, best young lineman that we've had in a long time. He's very good,
and he runs the O-line.
Yeah, he does.
Local guy. He's happy to be here. Yeah. And a 3-year deal. Like that, to me, that just says that's your Jersey guy. you go buy
and it's funny. When we drafted him in 2015,
he was a project.
It was a project guy. He was a second rounder, and everyone's like, why are they going off the board and taking him second round?
But obviously somebody knew something, right? So he's wonderful feet, very smart.
So I think he was under Chris Morris in early days.
Chris was the one who said, hey, you need to pick this kid up.
And he was playing guard there, and now taking over at center and just running the line.
Just running it. And
awesome.
He's doing really well.
Yeah, I love it. They sign international defensive lineman Malik Dorton, international defensive lineman Justin Horton, and defensive lineman Quincy Redman, which we talked about last show.
Yes.
So like I said, there is a lot of defensive linemen coming in. So I'm not sure. Yeah, we haven't finished where we get there. They extend national defensive back Jordan Hoover for 2 years. This one I did not see coming, but very happy. Quarterback Trevor Harris for 3 years, getting him locked up till 2022. Outstanding. I mean, can't say enough of stay healthy. Big years.
It's a no-brainer.
And it's consistency, right? It's just what you're getting.
Absolutely, yeah. We talked about defensive linemen. How about Mike Moore?
Yes.
How about all-star Mike Moore for 2 years, staying in green and gold?
That's going to be,
line is insane.
I don't know who they're going to put in there. It's like they could rotate all 4 guys and it'd be ridiculous.
You got 5 or 6 when you're talking like Machabrota as well as Stephen Charles.
Like it's going to be that front 4 is going to be.
There's going to be guys that'll get parsed off the roster that'll probably start elsewhere. Like that's how much talent there is right now.
Yeah,
It'd be interesting to see what they do. I don't think doesn't really seem like they're in a big rush to re-sign Bazzi.
Right.
I wasn't a big fan of Bazzi just because I thought he was too light.
Okay,
I thought people were running at him and they had a lot of success. So I don't know what their plans are but. The guys we're talking about right now are interior guys, right?
Yes.
So I'm not sure what the scheme will look like, because I don't know what Noel's idea will be for, what he wants to bring to the table. So it'll be interesting to see, like, with that personnel, will he change to adapt what he has, or will he run what he's comfortable running and then try to make it work? That's the excitement about having a new coach, right? You don't know. A lot of times you don't know what they're going to end up doing with the people that you have. I'm a big believer in you want to run things that suit what you got. You don't want to try to put around peg in a square hole. You know what I mean? So
they're going to run with 5 D linemen and 2 linebackers.
Going to run a double eagle.
all 3 interior guys just all coming at once. Although Mike Moore did rotate to the outside a few times and had some success. So I
didn't look lost.
No, so there might be, like we say, D lineman. He might end up being an edge guy with all these other guys that are filling in the middle, which I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Yeah. I just thinking about that line it's going to be crazy. They extend national offensive lineman Kwabena Asare, one of our good friends of the show and a hilarious dude. So I'm glad that he's back. And also national offensive lineman Jacob Ruby.
That's a big signing.
He really held down that guard position,
left guard,
so I like having the 3 Canadians in the middle. That's great. They bring back national fullback Alex Dupuis and sign national defensive lineman Tariq Lachance. Now, I don't know anything about him, but I just laughed because I'm like, another D-line? Are we loading up for a trade at D-line or something? Because this is ridiculous.
It's like Toronto with all the running backs last year.
Exactly, Just going to line up 12 guys in the middle. Go. Like, there's no...
If you can get it off, good power to you.
Exactly. Get a touchdown if you get to throw it, but good luck. They're all coming. Now, the tough part of the game. They release Anthony Orange and Natea J. Now, obviously, Natea, friend of the pod, and so much so, like he actually stopped in at West of Us to say goodbye to Kayla and hang out with us for a bit, and really, really hard one. And that goes back to the great game, crappy business.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of fans that are upset with that one. Just because he was so much in the community and
just a great guy on and off the field.
Absolutely.
But you know what? He played like this year. I really felt like this last year he really came into his own.
Yes.
He was when they called his number, he delivered. And I really can't think of a time last year when if it was like second and long and they threw it to him, like he honestly was one of the more consistent guys there. When they needed him, he always answered the bell,
right?
And so when you get a guy like that and then doing all the extra stuff that he did in the community, and it's tough to see a guy like that go, because you really, in this league especially historically, you've built teams around guys like that. Hats off to him. He really, I'm really happy to see him going home.
Yes, that's what the rumor is. Yeah,
if he goes back east, then he gets to play in front of his family and and all that. And I think a guy like that, that's all you can ask for. And he did. I always have nothing but nice things to say about him. He just really impressed me. I wasn't too sure about him in the beginning, and then he really, in the last 2 years, he just that kid can play. He's a warrior, great spirit, great heart.
Great
can't
special
say
teams
much more
as
about
well.
him.
Awesome absolutely. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So and so a lot of people, I know I got the question a lot, like why would it's not like he was breaking the bank as far as salary cap is concerned, and I agree. Although I can look at it from and when you get a new head coach, you just never know, right?
Yeah, you don't.
They come in and go, well, that guy fits my system and this guy doesn't.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's kind of a lot
We
of
always
times
used to
that's what it
joke,
is.
well, though, you want to bring the guys that roll the best blunts, right? And who rolls the best blunts for the guys you know, right? So, and so I always laugh whenever I see like, well, they're going to release this guy, and then they're bringing this guy. And I look at people on the internet. Why are they bringing this guy back? They keep bringing him back. Well, he rolls the coach's best blunts, right?
That's got to be it. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm happy to hear that he's going to land somewhere. Yeah. He'll always be a friend of the show.
Yes.
We love Nate, and that was a tough one. I know. Well, we'll talk about the whole player release before bonus thing a little bit later because we have a question for that. They did also sign international wide receiver TJ Smith. Now, I have no idea who that is.
Right,
but,
just got announced today.
Just announced, yeah.
Officially.
Is that best blunts? Got it. Okay, yeah, perfect. And right before we record, breaking news. Javon Santos knocks Farhan Lalji. I almost
there you go.
Yeah, is reporting a 1-year extension for Javon Santos Knox.
That's big.
That's huge.
I loved Diggs.
Huge.
I thought he was great, but
yes.
the level of play that got elevated when Santos Knox came back.
The athleticism.
Yeah.
Like from when you going from Diggs to
right.
It's just like a different game.
Yeah.
You know, you can do things as a coordinator with Santos that you can't do.
Sure.
You can match him up. You can have him covering the 3 receiver on that side. You can have him dropping back into coverage. You can have him rushing. Like, you can just do things you just can't. You can just plug and play with a guy like that.
Yeah.
And with Diggs, you got to kind of get what you get, So
well, and not only that though, but he wants to be here.
Yeah.
Like he's made it very clear he wants to be part of this, and I mean, you cannot ask for guys that have that kind of talent that are asking to be on your team.
Right.
Get them on your team.
let him play. Get out of his way.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you had said before we started recording too is that Diggs is also that guy that, if needed, could slide over into middle linebacker position. Yeah. He's got the right build and frame for it, and Javon can still lead the defense from the will position like that. Yeah. Like, so there's a lot of movement that could happen there. Is. Not that I do want Larry Dean back. I absolutely do. Yeah. But it's nice to have a backup plan, right?
It is.
And in a cap era, it's a lot tougher to get these
It's very difficult. You really have to make some difficult choices. And I get the sense that that's probably may not have happened with Nate. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
They just have to make really difficult, especially when you have that bonus due at a certain time. Yes. And even if something like $10,000 can really throw you off, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
The thing that drives me crazy about this cap is the fact that they figured coaches into it. That's leading, but it's a double-edged sword, though. You lose some of the older, more experienced guys, whereas you might get some of the younger, up-and-coming guys like Jordan Maximic, who ended up out in BC. Guys like that, where'd that guy come from, right? So. Yeah. It's a double-edged sword, but I really think at the end of the day, they really need to take another look at that and maybe refine that a little bit, because I think they really shot themselves in the foot with that, putting the coaches under that. Yeah.
I think there's always a thing where they could limit. I'd be okay if they said you have to limit the number, but not the dollars.
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa. Limit the dollars and have as many as you want. But the number and the
11 coaches
makes,
no more than...
it makes it very, very difficult.
It does.
Yeah,
and the non-coaches cap as well on the other play, like the trainers and
it's like, that's kind of ridiculous.
It's getting stupid. Yeah. Really, I'm just be honest, right?
Right.
Yeah. That's why I'm here, right? So, like that's why we really is. It's getting stupid, and I understand why they did it, because it was like, oh well, why are you spending so much money on these coaches? Pay the players. Well, like. Not everybody can run the team, If they could, everybody would do it. It's not as easy as people think it is.
And not having a limit on a number was allowed. Like J.C. Sherritt went to Calgary last year because there was no room from here.
No.
Yeah,
and
which
he
is
wanted
a
to coach.
shame. It's a grind, and that's endemic to like what we're talking about with Nate. Like, you lose the guys that really are your glue guys,
right?
In those scenarios, right?
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, you get a new coach and he wants to bring his guys in, but then you lose a guy like that who might bring that community sort of spirit to, when you're going out to an event. Oh, yeah, I know that guy. He's been here for X number of years, whereas they got coaches bringing all of his own personality and you don't know any of them. Right? So that's the thing. That's the casualty of this cap. That's what's happening right now.
That's why it's so great to see AJ and Demetrius Maxey coming
absolutely,
back.
Yeah. I love Demetrius. He's a good guy. He's a great football player.
He loves his players.
Yeah, and he loves his team. He loves his town. And the guys really like playing for him too. So it's I was really happy to hear he was coming back. So.
Yeah, that's a great one. Absolutely. Now the other thing that I saw today, Dave Campbell was talking about on the waiver wire. There's possible restructuring of contracts for Jake Serezna, Ricky Collins Jr., Greg Ellingson. Right. My guess is probably some money shuffle to open up some cap space. Right. We'll try and
maybe backload or front load.
Exactly. Yeah. Try and
be
make
interesting.
It a bit,
now that's cool. Well, what are they going to do with that money? You know what I mean?
That's what I'm
thinking. Because when I'm looking at our roster, I'm going, what's on the back end right now?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Because we had arguably some pretty good talent, but there was a lot of tools, but just no toolbox, right?
Yeah.
So we had guys popping off at crucial times, in the crucial parts of the game, taking silly penalties and that sort of thing. So it'll be interesting to see what the movement is, and it'll be interesting to see how Milanovic approaches that, and actually if he even tolerates that type of, those
highly
miscues
doubt
that
it.
we had last year. I don't see him
even
for
Thorpe.
some reason.
I don't even think Thorpe would stand for it.
Yeah, Thorpe is a little bit. He's pretty old school when it comes to that sort of thing. I don't think he tolerates it. So
I think from my impression of talking to him and things, he's fairly intense on the sideline. So it's like if you're not going to focus and be part of what the bigger picture is, then you're not out there.
Like, they don't have a role for you.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. All right, let's take a really quick break, and then we will come back with the Eskimos history segment, the winners of the Esks depth chart, and of course some more Empire questions. You can join the Empire online.
Find us at eskempire.ca.
Check out all the new blogs and then follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
For more history, follow @Esks History on Twitter.
And even more of my pics on Esk Empire Photo.
Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to help the pod grow. Thanks again for listening. Let's get back to the show. This episode is also brought to you by Norquest Career Moves.
Your next career move is right around the corner, and Norquest College is here to help. Our new Career Moves professional development program will help you transition to new job opportunities. Funded by the Future Skills Center, we will provide one-on-one coaching, self-assessments, skill development and training, and up to $2,000 in available tuition credit. Our focus is your success. Make your next move. Apply today at norquest.ca/career moves.
Thank you again to Norquest and the Alberta Podcast Network. Let's get to the Esks History moment.
Let's hear you cheer and holler for a mighty famous team. Let's hear you roar, you know what, for a team that's on the beat. Our voices rise up to the skies, the fans are glad to scream. We love those Eskimos.
Welcome back to the Esks History moment. This off-season, we are building the ultimate Eskimos depth chart as voted on by the fans of the podcast and the Edmonton Eskimos. This poll runs every 2 weeks and selects players from 1975 to 2019. But what about the players from before those years? Working with good friends of the podcast who were around in the early days of listening to our heroes on the radio, we have put together a separate roster featuring only those players to create the Ernie Pismo-Rasco Memorial All-Star roster. Cool. The first position we'll look at today is the kick and punt returner. While this position eventually morphed into a specialist role, it is still expected that back in the day the player could fill in another position on offense or defense just as they did in the first 25 years of the team. Several people stood out in this category, but we chose two players who excelled above all others. The first was Jackrabbit Joe Hernandez.
Nice.
Hernandez came to the Eskimos.
Nicknames.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah.
Hernandez came to the Eskimos from Toronto in the infamous Jackie Parker trade that saw the fan favorite sent to the Argonauts for 5 players plus $18,000. Wow. No small sum in 1963.
Whoa.
Originally drafted by the NFL's Washington Redskins and the AFL's Oakland Raiders in 1962, Hernandez opted instead to head north to the Argos, where he started flanker, a hybrid slot-back running back, and returner, which he transferred over to the Eskimos after joining the Green and Gold the following year, finishing second in both receiving and rushing for the team, while also leading in both punt and kick returns. He went back to the U.S. in 1964, joining the Redskins until ultimately coming back to the CFL and the Eskimos in 1966, specializing more as a defensive back, but still led the team in kick returns in 1967 and 1970, and was named an All-Star in both of those years.
Wow.
Our first choice for returner was another Eskimo who played both sides of the ball and is currently enshrined on the Esks Wall of Honor and in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame, Rolly Miles.
Yeah, he'd make the list. Yeah.
Miles was the Eskimos' first all-round superstar, being an all-star at running back, receiver, passer, defensive back, punter, and returner across his 11 years in green and gold.
So he'd punt it, run down, grab it, return it?
Right.
Yeah,
Like you would.
Perfect, yeah.
Rolly Miles led the team in punt returns 4 times between 1951 and 59, and 3 times on kick returns in that same period, all while being named a Western All-Star on both offense and defense 8 times in that 9-year period, missing only 1957, the year he was hampered by injuries. Moving on to receiver, it is important to understand that the early days of the Eskimos were an era where backfielders were the dominant force on offense. Non-rushing receivers would line up as an end, standing outside the offensive tackles, and at a flying wing, wingback, or flanker, as mentioned before.
Wow.
Traditional ends would become known as tight ends when eventually coaches began moving one of them further away from the tackle, which the position became known as a split end. Starting with that tight end position, the overwhelming winner is ironically the one that came at the end of the tight end era, number 75, Tyrone Walls. Walls came to the team in 1972, the same year as Tom Wilkinson, Bob Howes, Larry Highbaugh, and Roy Bell, among others. This signaled the beginning of the new dynasty era of the team, who had missed the playoffs in 1971, and this new group of Esks helped start the streak of 34 consecutive years of making the playoffs.
Wow.
Walls made a huge impact in his first year, recording 811 yards on 50 receptions, in addition to his blocking duties, good for second place on the team. He gave stability to the position for 5 years and left the team after the 1976 season as teams were moving more to the wide receiver and slot back sets, and he played his final 2 years with the BC Lions. The flanker position in the 1960s and early 70s was a player that lined up outside of the tight ends in the backfield, replacing the old wingback or flying wings. 2 players made our roster from the first 25 years. The first was a player that saw time both at flanker and quarterback, but really shone when rushing and catching the ball, Randy Curbo.
Wow, I don't even know that name. Yeah.
You will now.
Yeah, I will now, yeah.
Curbo saw action in green and gold from 1965 through 68, and his versatility as a threat catching, rushing, punting, passing, and playing defense made him a fan favorite during those tougher years for the Eskimos.
I love how every guy has like 8 positions.
Yeah. We'll do that now. A former receiver from the Houston Oilers, he came to Edmonton after being a late cut by the AFL team in 1964 and joined an Eskimos team that had missed the playoffs for 3 consecutive seasons at that point, missing for a 4th straight in Curbo's first season as they tried to find where to best fit him. He had a strong sophomore season, and the fans of Edmonton breathed a sigh of relief as the team made the playoffs for the rest of his time here, but the club never made it past the first round. Curbo retired back to Houston before the start of the 1969 season, replaced by another future fan favorite, Gary Lefebvre.
That one I know, yeah.
Another flanker that also saw time at split end came to the team midway through the 1971 season from Hamilton in a trade for future considerations, Bobby Taylor. This was only a few years after Taylor was a candidate for Canadian of the Year in 1968 and 69 when he played for the Argos.
Bobby Taylor was one of my dad's all-time favorite personalities.
Nice.
No way.
As good as he was on the field, he was even better at the party.
Outstanding.
Amazing guy. My dad loved him. When I played in Toronto, they used to hang out after the game.
That's awesome.
Great stories.
Awesome.
He started his CFL career with the Stampeders in 1961, and by his second year was splitting his time between the gridiron and the ice as he did double duty, playing minor hockey for the better part of the next decade.
Yep.
Wow.
Amazing athlete. Him and Billy Cooper used to hang out, and they caused a lot of trouble together.
Cooper was an Eskimo in 73.
Yeah.
By the time Taylor got to the Eskimos, his ferocious reputation as a hard-nosed player served him well, and in his first full year in green and gold, he finished with 800 yards, just 11 yards behind Tyrone Walls for third in receiving. Taylor's blocking and tough-to-bring-down route running were also part of his most sought-after skill set, and he helped take the team to the playoffs, where they lost a heartbreaker to Saskatchewan in the dying minutes, but signaled that the team was a force to be reckoned with as they entered the dynasty years. The most heralded of the receivers from this first few decades of the team started as a tight end and was at the forefront of the new split end position that eventually became wide receiver. He first joined the team in 1959, leaving after 1960 to start up a business venture, only to return in 1962 with a new attitude and made his way into the record books and the Hall of Fame, Tommy Joe Coffey. Coffey joined the team out of West Texas State and had an auspicious start. He dropped his first pass in a preseason action from the legendary Jackie Parker and muttered an apology to his quarterback as he got back to the huddle. Jackie shook his head and said no. They would run the same play again, and this time, if Tommy Joe dropped the pass, to just keep running to the dressing room, get back in his car because he was not going to make the team. Coffey caught that pass and wouldn't drop another thrown from Parker the rest of his time in green and gold. Coffey was considered a decent, if unspectacular, receiver in his first 2 years, but after missing the 1961 season as he retired to the business world, Coffey returned to the gridiron with a new mindset to the best, and he might just have done it. Coffey led the team in receiving every year after returning in 1962 and was named a CFL All-Star for 4 of those 5 years. He hit 900 or more yards receiving every one of those years, cracking the 1,000-yard mark for 3 straight seasons from 1963 to 65, all was doubling as field goal kicker and punter. Coffey was part of the desperation trade to Hamilton in 1967 as the Esks tried to find the next Jackie Parker at quarterback, and won his first Grey Cup that year and followed it up with a second in 1972 for the Tiger Cats. Coffey made his way onto the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in 1977 and on the Esks Wall of Honor in 1988. And the last member of the depth chart for the first 25 years is also one that nearly appeared on both this and the fan vote for the modern era. He was cut by the team after being brought in midway through the 1970 season, but in 1971 made the team and began his run into Eskimos history. Former University of Kansas Jayhawk and Canadian Football Hall of Famer George McGowan, number 76. Wow. Interesting, Kansas and number 76.
Yeah, my dad was good friends with him, and when I changed my number to 76 in 2000 or 99,
right,
Dwayne had not given that number to anybody.
Really?
But he knew that my dad and him knew each other because they both went to KU.
Sure.
And so I said, well, can I, because my dad wore 76.
Yeah.
Can I wear 76? And Dwayne said yes.
That is fantastic. He doesn't hand those numbers out.
And I knew who George McGowan was, so I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
so I made sure I took care of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. No kidding.
Yeah.
McGowan excelled in his first season, leading the team in receiving before breaking out in his sophomore year to crack the 1,000-yard receiving mark. 1973 saw him achieve superstar status, being named the league's most outstanding player, before a hamstring injury in the 1973 All-Star Game sidelined him for most of 74. Determined to prove he could still be effective after the injury, McGowan proved all naysayers wrong in 1975, setting a CFL record for receptions with 98 catches, good for 1,472 yards, and the Eskimos finally saw their first Grey Cup win in nearly 20 years in Calgary that year. Injuries still nagged at him for the rest of his career, and a final injury in the 1978 season kept him out of the first of 5 Grey Cups in a row in the Eskimos' second dynasty run. McGowan retired after that time as the team's all-time receptions leader and was replaced by another receiver who was cut in his first try with the club, Brian Kelly. McGowan was enshrined on the Wall of Honor in 1985 and is still remembered by many who were lucky enough to watch him play.
Going for a touchdown. Going for a touchdown. Going for a touchdown. We love those Eskimos.
Ooh, that was is awesome.
Yeah.
That's
great athletes.
Oh, man. There's
absolutely.
Some names we know, some names we don't, but that was very cool.
Just amazing to watch some of these guys that would play 6-7 positions in 60-minute men.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't get off the field. Like, you were on for offense, you're a special teamer or defense.
I found some old game film of my dad when he was at KU, and he played both ways.
Yeah.
He played offense and defense. And they did that all game long. If you didn't, you weren't on the field. You know, they couldn't use guys that specialized on one position. That went against everything. Like what they do now, the specialization, that was not something that was you know, they wanted guys that were going to go out there and basically just about die.
Yeah, and just do it all. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow. I'm really happy, actually, that there was a couple that mentioned that you had that connection for that. That's awesome. Yeah. That's very cool.
That's when I was looking at McGowan and just realizing that, oh, my God, he played for KU and wore 76.
Yeah. He came after my dad.
Yeah.
My dad. They all, that's a pretty tight-knit community there, the Jayhawks. They all reach out to each other. Like when my dad knew that Willie was coming here, Willie Plass.
Yeah,
he was so excited. He was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it. He's like the greatest linebacker." And if you look at it, he has the record for most tackles in the NCAA period.
Still
600.
Really,
nobody will ever break that.
No,
you know,
wow,
600 solo.
Wow,
so, and they don't
amazing.
And then some people say, "Well, that's not an official statistic." I'm like, I don't care if you're doing anything 600 times, you're doing something right in 3 years, right?
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's
in 3 years.
Wow. Yeah. One day we'll get him on here.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. Yeah, that's
an insane statistic.
Especially
at his size and the Big 8.
Right. Yeah,
no
running
kidding.
Conference
Like that.
No kidding. Holy jeepers. All right, let's go over the fan vote, media vote for the ones this year, and then this week, and then we'll set up the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did talk about
also,
it.
Check out the YouTube Live for all the
I was just going to say
pictures. Okay.
We in the YouTube Live, we did go over the fan vote, but we're going to kind of, the people that didn't see that, and really, why didn't you? You can watch that at any time. Just go to our YouTube channel.
Absolutely. Nice plug.
Thank you. So
awesome.
We're going to go back this. So again, much like we did with the vintage years, this is receivers and returners. We decided to go with 6 receivers, but in a bit of a surprising move, we had a tie for 6th spot. So there'll be 7 receivers in this lot and 2 returners. So for receiver, the overwhelming choice by the fan vote was Brian Kelly, we just talked about in the vintage years there, who replaced George McGowan.
His nickname was Howdy Doody.
Yes, and there's a definite good reason. He just looked like him and he acted like him.
Yep.
He was about as clean cut as you could get.
And still runs Ironman.
Yeah, he's an amazing athlete.
Like,
absolutely.
Still an athlete.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And he was cut in 1978 at a training camp. So,
wow.
Yeah,
but he,
great man. You know?
Came back, and he's still in the record books for the reception for the team. Next up was a guy that came a little later, another favorite of yours, that came in the Matt Dunnigan trade to the BC Lions, was Jim Sandusky.
Yep.
Came to us in 1988, left for a few years, and came back in 91, and definitely was an influence in the team, not only for his play, but also innovations to the team with his gloves, using the glass cover gloves.
Staples. He was also another one of those clean cut guys.
Right.
You know, very well respected.
Yep.
You know, headed up the Fellowship of Christian Athletes,
right.
Athletes in Action.
Yep.
But we did some off-season community stuff like that, and I saw a side of Jim I'd never seen before when we would be driving back from, say, Beaver Lodge or someplace like Spirit River, and he'd be doing about 210 kilometers an hour on the freeway.
That's awesome.
Like, he did everything fast.
Are we going to be okay? He said, I got it under control, buddy. Don't worry about it. Just go to sleep.
Nice.
Never got a ticket. Yeah.
And still very good friends with Glenn Harper.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
But I saw him at the Grey Cup. Looks like he's in shape, man. He looks like he can play. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Amazing shape. Yeah, I had a really nice conversation. Good guy. He's still doing the same thing, coaching high school kids. And fantastic. I think he works on the reserve down in Washington somewhere. Great guy. Great guy.
Yeah, I would love to chat with him. He's so many stories I can imagine.
Yep. So next up, and a bit of a surprising vote, we were going chronologically from their time with the team, not necessarily by how many votes they got. Number 3 actually didn't make it out of training camp this year, but has a lot of fans, and this is a fan vote.
Either that or a lot of time on his hands.
Yeah, well, exactly. One of the
other. He's been on the show twice. I mean,
exactly.
It's the Eskimo Empire bump.
Absolutely. Yeah, really cool. That'd be Boyd Plandowski, number 17.
That's awesome.
Who did try out for the team in 1993, coming out of the University
I remember
of Alberta.
him. So it actually, he actually did. He did wear the green and gold. So it's legit, folks. Like, don't... it's not a scam. He actually did wear the uniform. So,
excellent.
Absolutely. And not surprisingly, he also came in third for returners.
Really?
So,
Oh, that's not surprisingly at all.
Almost made a double.
Yeah,
so
that's very good.
Not bad, Boydo. Number 4, we are going to go to a guy that came to us from Calgary after dominating for the red and white in the late 1990s, especially on Labor Day. Terry Vaughan.
Yes.
Yeah. Amazing. Yards. You talked about yards after catch. Terry Vaughan was that guy. I used to always say, if you wanted a touchdown, throw it to Milt Stiegel. If you wanted a first down, give it to Terry.
Oh,
because he would be that guy that, like you said, would make people miss. You know?
Yep.
I mean, he wasn't exactly like a speed demon or anything like that, but he just could run as fast sideways as he could forward.
Right.
You know, and backwards even, really.
Really.
So, he was just amazing. But you know what? He was an All-American running back.
Yeah.
You know, in college. So
and had
I
hands.
didn't really know that until he and I got to know each other, and then we talked, and we had some friends in common in Arizona, and it's just a funny man and a great guy to have in the dressing room. You know, never really knew what was going to come out of his mouth next. So he's a good guy. I really,
awesome.
He's one of the guys I miss playing with.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We did pretty well, actually, with guys that were running backs that converted to receiver.
Yeah.
Tom Richards was one. Craig Ellis,
Yeah.
another guy.
Craig.
Great guys. Neither of them actually made this list, unfortunately.
No.
The top 6 just shows you how tough it is to make
very,
this
very
list.
Tough list.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Boydo, like that's the.
I mean, really, he's
that's
not
the pinnacle of excellence right there.
And that's just it. I mean, after you get Boyd, really, everyone else is kind of
it's all
second tier.
downhill from there. Right?
I can't wait for him to listen to this.
I
In
know.
this world, we're all just living in it.
That's
right?
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Next up, chronologically anyway, but number 2 in votes was Jason Tucker.
Yes.
Came to that team in 2002, and we mentioned in the YouTube live stream, came the same time as Ricky Ray, and that just really signaled that next level that the Eskimos achieved, going to the Grey Cup in his first year, winning it in his second year, and being named the most outstanding player of the Grey Cup.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah,
that was an insane game he had down there in Regina.
Yeah,
in the Grey
absolutely.
Cup. I'll never forget that. I was in the stands just yelling myself hoarse.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
So, I think everybody else was too, but I'm deaf, so I wasn't. But
I'm sure they were.
I'm sure. Well, they sure look like it.
The 6th receiver that came out, again, came in 3rd in fan votes, and he's the guy that came right after Jason Tucker, and for many years was the face of the receiving corps, and that's Fred Stamps.
Yep.
Stamps gave more than most playing for the team.
Sure did.
Oh, yes.
You know, the old expression, I would give my...
Yeah.
He gave it.
He really did. Yeah.
did.
That's what he does.
He did, you know, so you can't question his loyalty. But you know what? You're right, though. There was a long stretch there after the demise of that quasi-dynasty squad there from 02, 03, 05, right? Mm-hmm. Those dark years that came after, he was really the lone light. And it was almost, it was kind of sad because he theoretically could have had a part of what came after he left. You know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They just basically decided, no, we're going to part ways.
And then next
but he
year
really
we won.
did. He gave everything he had. You know?
Literally. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Right?
Really more than I have ever given to anything.
Exactly. I've never been that dedicated to anything in my life.
The other thing I always remember best about Fred was that he would make those catches that were, you'd be like, what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Like those catches in Calgary. He always seemed to have really good games against the Stampeders.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that we would lose almost all of them, but he would always make a catch that would just be like, where did that come from? Like the one-handed over the shoulder, or just like he was a special talent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being able to come back to Edmonton and retire as an Eskimo.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Great
that
for the
nice.
fans, especially.
Nice to see that.
Yes.
The last one on the list, and the most recent to play in green and gold, was Adarius Bowman.
Yep.
AD. There's not much you can't say about Adarius that hasn't already been said.
Yep.
A great character guy. he just lit up a room whenever he walks into it, and the things he's done outside of football as well, with the Darius for Autism, I think just speaks to a really high character for sure.
You know what? He ended up being the exact opposite of what people thought he was.
Right.
You know what I mean? He came in and people, he's got it. Somehow, some way, he got typecast out in Winnipeg as being this guy that, you know, he absolutely wasn't. He turned out to be the exact opposite. Now, I will say that sometimes that Darius had that maddening knack to make the easy ones look hard and the hard ones look easy. But his numbers speak for themselves.
Sure.
You know, he's just an elite talent, a quality guy away from the game. And he's still here in Edmonton, makes his home. I've run into him a couple times. Just a really, really nice man. And you can't really say much more than that. You know, he certainly just brought us all up onto our feet many times as a receiver here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Helped him kind of get over the hump there and achieve what they did in 2015. He's just an amazing talent, you know.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, so that's the list of receivers. There were several players that almost made the list that actually were in that top 6 during the week.
Oh, okay.
Ran out of votes. Darrell Walker was one player that at one point was, I think, number 4 or maybe number 3 before other players passed him. Ed Hervey, another guy that made that list. Just amazing, the guys that aren't in this top 7 that could still be an all-star on any other roster.
Well, where's Darren Flutie?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like that guy, he did things I've never seen.
Exactly. George McGowan, another guy that was on there. You know. Tommy Scott. Lots of great players that aren't going to be on this list that are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no kidding.
For returners, we decided to make 2 people eligible returners because otherwise it's just the Gizmo Williams Award.
We wouldn't have even had to do it.
Really no point. Gizmo,
and if you guys ever end up having him on to talk about it, nobody will understand him. So you got to have that backup guy. You know,
exactly.
We'll bring you on to interpret that.
I'd be happy.
Exactly.
Please do.
Whammalama, what's that again? Yeah, that's an ambulance, right? Yeah, okay, good.
He says he's happy.
He'll talk for like 8 minutes and he'll be like...
Yeah, that long 5 minute long is just saying he's happy.
He's good. Yeah. He's happy to be here. Period.
And the second returner who got on this list, again, not much of a surprise, people that remember him from the 70s and early 80s, was Larry Highbaugh.
Yeah, absolutely.
An incredible athlete for someone that wasn't a very large person. He still holds the record for the 70-yard dash, mostly because they don't run it anymore.
But one way to break a record.
Yeah, exactly.
Hold a
Guarantee
record
no one will
forever.
ever break that. He's also famous for his tours around all the schools in town where he would play 1 against 5 in volleyball or 1 against 6 in basketball. And
I have the CFL record for most special teams tackles for someone over 260 pounds.
Hey, so there you
really?
go.
Yeah.
That is it.
That will never be broken.
No.
And that's because you knew exactly when to jump up and throw your hands in the air.
Yes, I did. And I had an arrangement with the CFL statistician. Yeah.
Nice.
Just jump up, throw my hands up in there, and make eye contact with the booth.
Like,
that was good for an extra 20 tackles.
He'd be like, that guy's okay. Yeah, here you go.
Okay.
Yeah, give that one to him.
No, but that was the thing we always said. The first one to throw their hands up gets the tackle. So, whether you got it or not.
Yeah, that's it.
Not just doing YMCA.
Yeah.
See, in a few months when this is all video, everyone will think that's a lot funnier.
Yeah, that's true.
That's good. Any differences on the media side of things?
Yeah, a few. The returners were the same.
Of course, yeah.
Again, Boydo didn't get as many votes for the media podcast.
It's rigged.
That's why, really.
I do not accept that.
That's right.
I don't accept it.
I think there's some bad blood behind
They don't
this,
understand
the
how
Jed guys
special
and
he is.
That's what it is.
Some of the guys were the
he's
same.
Special.
Hey, let me tell you, he would give his whatever. He
Really?
would. He would.
Okay, yes, he would
Yeah.
have. Yes, that's true.
And it's still available to do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Thank goodness.
Some of the guys are going to be the same. Obviously, Brian Kelly got all of our votes.
Yeah.
So did Terry Vaughn. Jason Tucker also got the majority of our votes. Fred Stamps and a Darius Bowman. But then we had a 3-way tie for that 6th spot.
Again.
Wow.
Which is just absolutely crazy. So this one went to Sandusky, Tommy Scott, and George McGowan.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Okay.
That's a heck of a 3-way.
Oh,
Yeah. Title of the
Tie. Tie.
Do you mean tied up?
Tie.
What are you
tie.
talking about? Yeah, okay. That's
Hold me close and tie me down, sir. Okay.
nice.
Another Elton John song?
Let's just stick with pre-agency.
That's yeah. Pre-agency is much better. Oh, my.
So yeah, a lot of fun with this one. Obviously,
More than we expected.
not that much fun,
Yeah.
but still a lot of fun. I think that we really started to see this round how talented this team has been over the many years.
Yeah.
And just being able to pick and like, there's a lot of people that are fan favorites that didn't get those votes, and it was hard not to pick them. That you're
Marco Sincar.
Exactly.
Oh, so not fair.
Absolutely.
He could make the list. He makes the list for best hair.
No question.
Yeah. Yes, best mullet ever.
Sick flow.
Can we add a position? Sick flow. Just put it on the side. Yeah, exactly.
Somewhere Jordan Hoover's like, whatever.
Jacob Ruby's like, I'll show you. Just
not
give
anymore.
Me a well, he can grow back.
That's true.
Just for fun. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a quick story about Marco and I.
I would love it.
He was one of his last years playing in 1990, and I made it on the roster against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers that year. And it was after the game. We'd beaten the Bombers, and we were in the in front of the mirror because we both had the greatest mullets of all time. Marco's was better, like I'll give him that, but mine was pretty good too.
Yours was pretty.
We're doing our mullets, and he's got the air dryer going, and I'm reading his lips, and he goes, "Hey Jed," and I go, "What?" And he goes, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 22. Why do you ask?" And he goes, "Well, you're 22. Let's see. When I was in high school, you would have been 4." I don't think we would have been hanging out back then, Jen. And then he walked away. Ruined my night.
I guess that's probably just as well. I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably You don't want to be hanging out at that point, but still,
right?
Yeah, exactly. You should have just shot back and said, "Yeah, I had better hair when you were than I was 4. Right? When I was 4, my hair was like yours, but not anymore." Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you wouldn't have fit on my big wheel, buddy.
No.
Like, one day I'll bring out the high school picture that I dedicate to Marco Sincar. I was really trying for that. I was really trying to pull it off. Didn't.
No,
it was long.
There were some good hair days back in those 90s.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Todd Storm had some interesting
Todd Storm had a wicked mullet.
Not now.
No. Todd Storm has nothing.
Unless he starts growing his eyebrows.
I can appreciate that on a number of levels at this particular moment. All right, we've got a few Empire questions to go through. Joe asks, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Opinions?
Technically it is.
Technically, it is.
2 slices of bread with meat between
in the middle.
Sandwich.
But it's hinged.
But it's a hinged. It's not a bread. It's a hinged. So I would go.
You know what? If it's not done right, it's a sandwich.
There you go. If it's done right, then
it's not a sandwich.
No. Actually,
it's technically still one piece of bread.
Correct.
My dad used to actually do 2 pieces of bread, and he would cut the hot dogs lengthways in half, and then just have them.
No, see, that is a sandwich.
That's a sandwich.
That is a sandwich.
But weird. But
yes, he was an American.
All due respect.
Exactly. Eric asks, "Does Joe really ruin everything?" And I say, just see the previous question. Okay. Chris asks, which teammate was the biggest prankster? For those who can't see it,
well, let me put it to you this way. Let me put it to you this way. Every team has a phantom.
Okay.
Right.
And the phantom is that guy that comes in and dispenses justice under the cover of darkness for anyone not willing to sing their school fight song during supper as a rookie, or anyone just generally not like fitting in with the team. I guess you could say it. For all practical intents and purposes, it's hazing. So
right. Okay.
And I was that guy for many years.
Okay.
Yeah, I would call the phantom. I had you had a bat phone. I'd put up a little, thing up in the sky, and the phantom would come. So we would do things like there was one particular poor unfortunate soul who refused to sing, so we took his suit and put it in the cold tub, and then we put it in the ice, and we froze it, and then we froze it in the shape of a running man. So when he came off of practice to put his suit on, it was frozen. There was one year when we got we got this powder that turned into dye. Did I tell you this story?
No.
Oh, my goodness. This is one of the best. I think it was Mike McLean, actually, that we did this to. No, you know what they did to Mike McLean? It was just Danny Bass and Larry Ruck got a hold of some leeches for his birthday and taped him down to the bench and put leeches on him.
Oh no!
And they didn't realize this, but he was like genuinely frightened of leeches, so he didn't take to it very well.
No.
So we finally got him up, and they took him off of him, and he swore revenge. So he waited. He stewed in his like hatred for about 6 weeks. And when it was, I think it was Danny's birthday, a few weeks later, he went out and got this. His wife at that time was a police officer.
Okay.
Oh, that's not
No. That was Jeanette.
Okay.
His buddy Mark Singer, who played for the U of A, his wife was a cop. So they got this dye that, like, once it comes in contact with moisture, it it dyes your skin, and you can't get it off for like 3 weeks.
Okay.
So this powder. So what they did was Mike came in and he put this stuff all over Danny Bass's jock and his shorts, and he put it all over like a Larry Ruck's helmet and on his all over. And so the way we conditioned back in those days was we played World Cup soccer, right? It was 1990, and so that particular game, the day after the game, Danny didn't really like soccer. He was about as American as they got, and he thought soccer was a waste of time. So he didn't even bother suiting up. He just kind of pretended to put his shorts on, and then he walked out. So hit didn't really take for him. But Larry was always really competitive, so he got out there and he put his stuff on. So sure enough, we're about halfway through, and Larry's skin is turning purple because he's perspiring, and it's all over his neck and all over here, right here, and on his face. And he's like, "What the hell's going on?" Right? He thought he was having like an allergic reaction or something. So he ran in, and he looked in the mirror, and he was like turning. He was like rubbing it really, and he's like rubbed it raw, and he had like a big function to go to that night with his wife. And it was like a formal function, so he had it all purple. He went to this thing just with this purple dye, and it took like 2 weeks for it to come off. It was one of the greatest hits I've ever seen. So if I had to say who was the best pranksters, the personalities, the rotating cast of characters, there were good ones year in and year out. But I used to get Gizmo all the time. Like I used to throw cold water on him when he was in the shower. I got hold of the letterhead from the Edmonton Eskimos. And, this is before like the computers were really big and stuff like that. Boy, am I old. But anyway, I typed up a letter on there that says, in order to avoid potential embarrassment, we would like to know the names of all of your love interests so as to seat them directly opposite of one another in the stadium to avoid any and so I gave him this letter, and it was on the stationery and everything. I cleared it with the administration, and he stormed into the administration office and started yelling and screaming and throwing furniture around because he was really angry. I had to go over there and tell him it was me that did it, and he was still mad. Oh, he was a funny one to hit.
I bet.
Yeah. Still one of my favorite.
I wish I'd have kept that copy.
Yeah. Still one of my favorite stories you ever told us was the D's Nuts story with Gizmo.
Nobody get me with that. Giz, what? D's Nuts, timeout. Perfect. It was the middle of a game.
Love it. Love it.
Awesome. That's one of the greatest hits of all time.
Yeah, that was outstanding.
Yeah. And that was for money too. That cost him $2,000. I think. Because he said, "I'll give $2,000 to anybody that'll get me." So that's why we all tried to get him, and we couldn't. Oh no, I'm not falling for that one.
No, I'm not falling. Oh, that's awesome. Ed asks, are you surprised that releasing players the day before a bonus was due was not addressed in the last CBA? That is a loaded question, let me tell you.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a surprise. I think that's something that they'll definitely have to take a look at because it's just a dirty pool, and the optics of it are terrible.
I agree with that.
It's just it just looks really grimy. It doesn't look good. Especially in this league where $10,000 really
or less,
$10,000
less. They were saying $7,000 for
$7,500. Yeah.
So why even write it in there then if that's what you're going to do? Right?
I think that what I've heard from people is that the Players Association made it so that this was it'd have to basically take a player and say, I'm definitely using you or I'm not before free agency. Because if you don't have that in your contract, then there's nothing that stops them from cutting you before training camp, like the day before.
Yeah, and that's fair. Yeah, I remember that was a very real fear of mine when I played. But I always just didn't ask for very much money. So that helped me.
That helps a lot.
I played 13 years. The results speak for themselves, folks.
Exactly. Just don't ask for a whole lot. No, I think
this was my dad. My dad actually said this, and I swear to God, he said, I said, "Dad, did you negotiate your own contracts?" And he said, "I sure did." And I go, "Well, what did you find? Like, how did that work for you?" And he said, "Well, I only had one strategy." And I said, "What was that?" He goes, "I never asked for more. I just asked for more of what I was getting." I said, "That makes no sense." And he goes, "When you start playing, you'll understand." And so when he learned that I was coming to Edmonton, he said that's a good team to play for because you'll get more of what you're getting. And by that he meant the community part of it, like going out and this team, the community's really embraced me over the years because of all the community work that we did. And not every team has that. You know, people don't realize that. Like, you don't get that sort of, like, the Argos don't really do that. The Argos, they try to, but there's a lot of apathy in that. It's a major metropolitan city. You don't get that same apathy in Regina. You don't get that same apathy in Calgary. Those guys in Calgary, those players, they take care of the guys. They're all working in the oil patch, right? Yeah. So that's more of what you're getting.
Right.
Okay. So that's what he was talking about.
Okay.
So that
awesome. Makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. I think Hodge put that point out too, that agents were actually asking to have the bonuses for February 1st. So that way then if they were going to be cut, then that was likely going to happen then, and then they have
a lot more time to bargain. That makes sense. That's actually probably the most common sense answer I've heard yet. That it gives you that much more time to find another team.
Right, so, and they haven't set their rosters at that point, right? So they haven't blown all their money in free agency. They have nothing left.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just the teams that end up looking like...
But it doesn't
make them look good, right?
No. But is that a bad thing if you're a PA? Because the teams look bad.
Yeah, so
you get more of the fan support on your side.
That makes sense. Right. I hadn't really thought of that.
Yeah, so it might make sense.
Either way, I'd still like to see them get rid of it. But
yeah, I'd like them to just find a
happy medium and stick with it.
There's got to be a way around it. Yeah, absolutely.
But by the same token, though, I hear a lot of arguments of people saying, "Well, there's no guaranteed contracts." I'm like, well, that's for a reason. Right. Like if you guarantee a contract and the guy gets hurt, and you're stuck. Like, where's the protection for that? You know what I mean? So there's got to be a happy medium in there somewhere, right?
Even if they had a portion guaranteed, though, that might...
The NFL has that
too, right? That portion that's guaranteed, and then it's all bets
But
are
I'll tell
off,
you
right?
what, when I played, there was nothing quite like that feeling of you just never knew.
Right.
It could, like that day, like you could wake up and then we're going to go a different direction, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there were some sort of built-in controls and protections of the, like, if you played to September 1st, they pay you out for the rest of the year.
Right.
So we would always have like September 1st parties, you know, like, the September 1st guys would get in the middle of the 55 and hug each other. We made it, you know. So, but it's nip and tuck, man. For the first 6 months of the, you know, the season's like 8 months, right? So the first 6 months you're like, you know, so
and then it gets good,
and then it's easy.
Awesome. Leanne asked as well, what's one rule that the CFL has now that you wish they had when you were playing?
You know what? I find it the other way around. Like the rules that they have now, you know, it's a different game. Like I would have played a different role in the league now because I was the wedge buster. I was the guy that ran down and took out those 4-man wedges.
Yes.
You can't do that anymore.
Right.
You know, that's not...
They can't do the wedge anymore.
You can't form a wedge, first of all. And second of all, you can't hit like I used to hit. Right? So it's a different game. So, I mean, I guess it's a double-edged question, and I would say probably that rule because maybe... You know, but I had a lot of fun, so I can't really...
Sure.
You know, it's a completely
more fun
different
than they
game.
had.
You know, it's funny because I go back and I look at that. I posted a video the other day of a quarterback, Eric Hipple, running the ball over on the sideline there and getting hit by this linebacker from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it was a legal hit, but his helmet went flying. And that's a 15-yarder and an ejection if you do that now. Right?
That's true.
But back then, that was just another play.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
To hit, yeah.
So, you know, I really like the fact that... it's a different game. Like it's just like comparing the cars from the earlier part of this century to the cars now. You know, when you really look at it, the technology with the helmets, the equipment, even just the uniforms, the way they fit. You know,
they're not
the
very
footwear.
loose.
Like everything's completely different. It's you know, it's not the same game. You know?
What about the horse collar tackle rule? I mean, that didn't really exist in your time playing. As a penalty, that is.
Yeah. The other thing that throws me off a little bit is the way they call the games between this league and the other league.
Sure.
They let a lot go in the NFL, especially when it comes to hand fighting for PI. I really wish this league would get it right and just let that go a little bit more. So I would say if I could, the rules that they have right now, I wish they had a little bit less. Or they wish they were a little bit more lenient when it came to that because I feel like calling every little thing is just like
Slows it right down.
For many years, and that's one of the things I really loved about when they bring Bud in here and he starts talking about it. Like, yeah, you could call a penalty on every play.
Sure,
like, if that's what you want, sure, we'll do that.
Especially
and that's what I feel like the league has been backed into a corner, and they're doing that. You hit a quarterback right here, oh boy, it's a penalty. You can't hit his knee. You know, come on, man.
You even touch his helmet.
You can. And then when he decides to run and somebody hits him, he gets mad. He throws the ball at the guy, right? Like, oh, how dare you hit me? Well,
we're a runner now.
So, I mean, it's the other way around for me. There's a lot of rules right now that I think are really silly. I understand why they're there, to protect the players, but come on, man. You know, like, we knew what we were getting into.
It's still still a tough sport.
But like in your dad's time, clotheslining was legal.
Yes, it was. My dad used to take, I don't know if I've told you this before, but you know those big canisters of black velvet?
Right, yeah.
He used to take the metal parts off and then open it and then unravel it.
Yeah.
And then he would put it on his arm and put tape on it. All the guys did it. And then they would use this part of it, and then somebody would come across the middle and they would just hook them right in the neck. And that was legal. And you could head slap people. Like, that was, I remember actually being my son's age right now, and you could head slap people.
Yeah,
I was grade 5, grade 6. Yeah,
there's a guy in the CFL that played
early to mid 70s. Yeah,
Saskatchewan, Bill Baker. He was called the
Undertaker.
Yeah, and that's why, because head slaps and clothesline.
Wow,
just decleat somebody.
Jeez, that's ridiculous. Now this is a question that I just had for you. Football 101. Are you guys still doing that? Do you know?
Yeah, we are, but it's always evolving, you know,
sure,
right? And they're kind of gearing it more toward, like, I've done a lot of just ad hoc presentations for corporations. Like, I did one events for Canadian Pacific. I did one for, you know, just like a real condensed one. And we've done some for kids up front where they bring kids in there. So, I mean, it's like the actual dedicated presentations where we had people come in from the community. We've kind of gone away from that. But I don't know. It really depends on who's kind of running or spearheading that. They always ask me. I always say yes. So,
okay. Yeah. Good.
You know, I guess to answer the question before that about what rule, I think the overtime rule, I wish we would have had that a lot earlier.
Right.
I like the fact that two teams getting that opportunity to score and win the game and not have to be up to a point, coin toss. That, to me, is the purest version of football. So, and that's the rule that I wish would have been around a little bit earlier in my career. So,
awesome. That's a great answer.
The California playoff is the way to go.
Yeah.
You know, take the special teams out of it and let them duke it out.
Let them try. And both teams get a shot, not just who scores first. Yeah. No, totally agree. Well, Jed, I can't thank you enough. This was awesome. Absolute howl as usual, and we love having your insights and having you on. Do you know where everybody finds you on Twitter, or do you?
Yeah, I'm JedRock43.
Very good. Okay, I'm just double checking.
That was one of those things where, hey, Superfan Mike, man.
I got that.
YouTube Live! That's where you find it.
That's right, yes, very good.
You know what? I find myself when I come here, I'm like, have I told that story yet? And you guys, no, you haven't told. Oh, okay, well, I'll tell that story. So I should probably start checking them off to make sure I'm not repeating myself.
Well, I have a feeling you have enough stories that we could do 100 of these.
Oh, yeah, I've got a lot more. So every time I come in, I'm like, oh, I could tell that one next time. So.
Yeah, we line them up and then we'll send
anytime, man. I really enjoy coming in here. It's been really, like I said in the beginning, it's just really cool to see how this podcast has taken off. It's grown. It's taken on a life of its own. And it's a beautiful thing. And I think it actually has set the benchmark and the standard for the rest of the league. All the podcasts around the. That's including Saskatchewan. Okay, I think that you guys really set the template, and it's really cool to see all the changes and the advancements and the technology and stuff. And you can't. It's like not fair because you've got this guy next to you who knows everything about everything when it comes to football. I get emails from people like, "Who's the oldest surviving CFL player?" So, well, Mike. Mike's like, well, technically, it's like.
But again, nobody ever checks. I can just make stuff up.
He's like, well, we can't. We haven't confirmed that they're dead yet. So
just poke them every so often.
Alive, So
he's good.
But yeah, if you guys want me back, I'll come back.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, we would. Yes, Superfan. Where does everybody find you?
They can find me at 56 Park
YouTube Live.
And then at Esks History. But YouTube Live's a great answer.
It is. Yeah. It's an excellent answer. Exactly. You can find me at YouTube Live. Yes. Eskimo Empire Podcast. I want to give a special shout out to our sister, Commissioner Kayla. Yeah. She heads out tomorrow to head to Cambodia for 6 months.
That's fantastic.
We will all be thinking about you. We all love you and hope you have an amazing experience and that we still get to chat with you and talk some Eskimos. So I want to make sure that we do that. So follow her at Duchess Lombardi. You can find me at Free Policious. You can find the show at Esk Empire Pod. Make sure that you're following Pay It Forward with Football. They're now on Twitter and on Facebook. They have their new shirts, of course, that are $20. And, I guess they're not so new anymore, but I've only been saying new for 2 months.
Right.
They still have shirts. And they're all getting set up for this next season. Of course, make sure you check out all the great shows on the Alberta Podcast Network at albertapodcastnetwork.com. And, of course, all the great shows as part of the Canadian Football Podcast Network at
CF Pod Network.
CF Pod Network. Thank you.
Nice.
I was going to say CFPN.ca, but that's not correct. CF Pod Network. Check it out all there. And of course, you can find all of our social channels and all the links on eskempire.ca. Of course, we'll need to get a new link for our YouTube Live because I haven't said that quite enough times as of yet. Yeah. We did announce on the YouTube Live as well that we are having a live show, a live recording of the podcast. It will be May the 9th. It'll be in the afternoon. I don't have exact time
Saturday.
yet. It is a Saturday. We will have some more information on location, tickets, guests, all those types of things. I know we will have at least one very special surprise guest, but we are setting that all up for May the 9th. There is about 50 spots in there, so it'll be a nice, close group of us. So write that down on your calendars, and we'll get out some ticket information as soon as we can. I know Mike kind of mentioned it, but make sure that you fill out your ballot for the round 3.
Yeah.
And what are we doing for round 3?
Round 3 is going to be defensive backs. We're picking 3 cornerbacks, 3 defensive halfbacks, and 2 safeties.
Well, that should be easy.
Oh, yeah. Very easy.
Yeah, I'm already sweating. It's fine. I'll get over it. Yeah. But of course, we will be back in 2 weeks to talk about the results of that, as well as set up the next one. And of course, we'll be past free agency at that point. So we may have a few other signings to get to. I mean, Brock, as far as I'm concerned, has done some amazing work so far. I can't wait to see what happens next week in free agency. So tune in. We will be tweeting as much as we can. We may even pop on and do a live hit there if there's some big signings. We'll see how things run. But thank you again, Jed, for coming in. So for Jed, Commissioner Kayla, and Superfan Mike, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you in 2 weeks.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.